for our second webinar series with the Blue Trails Guide. My name is Faye Augustin, and I'm the Intermountain West Blue Trails Manager. I'm really happy that you're joining us here this afternoon. So our focus of our webinar today is corporate support, developing and making the most out of corporate partnerships. A couple of quick logistical things. If your connection is lost, feel free to log in again using your unique web ID. And also, this webinar is being recorded, and it will be available on November 19th on our community forum, which is at bluetrailsguide.org/forum. So please feel free to come back and view this as many times as you'd like. In terms of questions, we encourage you to ask any questions that you have throughout the webinar in the question box in the GoToWebinar toolbox on your screen. Additionally, after the webinar, and if you are viewing this as a recorded webinar, we really encourage you to participate and engage in our online Blue Trails Guide community forum. Here you can ask additional questions, share stories, what worked, what didn't work for you in terms of corporate sponsorship at the community forum, which is at bluetrailsguide.org/forum. Finally, transcript of all questions and the answers that we have to those questions will be available by Monday, November 24th at bluetrailsguide.org/forum, again in the community forum. So I'd like to take a moment to introduce Ann Patterson, the Director of Corporate Relations here at American Rivers. I've been with American Rivers for over 3 years and has really done a great job of engaging and telling American Rivers corporate relations program. So without further ado, I'll pass it on to Ann. Thank you so much, Ann, for joining us.
Thanks, Faye. Hello, my name is Ann Patterson, and I'm Director of Corporate Relations with American Rivers. I've been helping to grow the corporate program at American Rivers for almost 4 years. And while I'm not by any means an expert, I am looking forward to sharing what I've learned along the way and to hopefully inspire some great conversation later on the forum. Over the years, I found that I've learned the most from actually talking to other people and organizations like ours. What companies are looking for from nonprofits is ever changing. And that means that we have to change with them and help each other along the way. So with that, I really want to reiterate what Faye said and encourage people to ask questions on the forum. We'll be having an active conversation over the next few weeks, and I really think there'll be a lot of value added. And if you don't have a specific question, but there is something that you think worked really well for you and your organization, or that you didn't think worked well at all, please share that too. I think that sharing our experiences is a fantastic way to learn this type of thing, and I've always found the discussion to be the most valuable. The truth is, there's not a cut and dry way to build a corporate sponsorship program, but there are a lot of things that we can do to prepare for our conversations with potential corporate partners. Today, I'd like to go over things that we can do to set up a corporate sponsorship program. I will also go over ways to find and cultivate those potential partners. First, I'll talk about relationship building. That's really key to all of this. I'm sure you already understand the importance of this with almost everything else that you do, from donor engagement to working within the communities that you do. Rarely does someone just write a check. They want to know who you are, they want to know your organization, and they want to know what the return on their investment will be. They want to feel like they're supporting something that they know and that they trust. And then we'll talk about determining and articulating what your organization has to offer potential partners. We'll talk about how to find good prospects and who to approach within those companies. And finally, we'll talk about the importance of measuring success and following up. So be patient. That's my one main focus here. There's no punch list to building relationships. They take time, but the payoff is definitely worth it. It wasn't all that long ago that companies were looking to just give an organization some money and be done with it. I just haven't found that to be the case anymore. They want to know you. They want to know your organization. They're becoming invested in who we are and what we are doing. It's a really good thing, but it takes a lot more time and effort. This can be challenging given all the other things on our plate. Most of you probably have a lot more in your job description than approaching companies, building complex sponsorship programs, ensuring the details are carried out, and then reporting on them. But it's actually a lot more like working with a foundation these days, and these things are important. The payoff is worth it, though. Many times companies are engaging with nonprofits because they want to be a part of the story and share that story with their customers, with their board, or their employees. Often this means they come back the next year. and engage in deeper ways. But like anything, they might not if they're not fully engaged, and that can take a lot of time and energy and patience. Often the company will come in at a lower amount or through an in-kind donation, but grow their giving as time goes on. So before you do anything else, take stock in who you are and what you have to offer. As I mentioned before, sponsorships are two-way streets these days. Identify your assets and determine their value. Some examples of what I'm talking about could include your brand. This is a big one. You're doing good things for your community, and associating with an organization that is trusted in your community is of a lot of value to companies. You may have heard this referred to as the halo effect. Your relationship with your community. You're working daily on improving the health of your community. You have positive relationships with people living and working there, and that's also worth a lot. Your website and social media networks. These are all ways that your supporters engage with you, people who are listening to your organization, and that's certainly a value. Materials, things like your newsletter, your annual report, and educational materials or different types of media that can be shared with employees or consumers that are also of interest to the company. And then, of course, there's your expertise. You are all experts in your field. You have knowledge and connections to bring to the table. So what else? I would encourage you to sit down with key people in your organization who are in all departments and put a list together of everything that you have to offer. When you write it down, I really think that you'll see that the list is quite extensive. Most importantly, don't undervalue any of this. Don't give your brand away for free. Really understand the monetary value of what you have to offer. Now that you've taken inventory of what you have to offer as an organization, you need to decide what you have the time and resources for in terms of building a clearly defined sponsorship program. You may be tempted to put a tiered system together, bulking different things that you have to offer and putting a dollar sign next to them, a menu of options. This can be helpful, but I would caution you from using this as your sole way of obtaining sponsorship. Yes, sometimes a company just wants to see what they can sponsor and what they'll get for their money and move along. But more often than not, one size does not fit all. First of all, companies are all shapes and sizes. Some are consumer-facing and are looking to engage potential customers. Some are small and can't afford what a larger company might, but might offer you a higher value in a different way. For example, a restaurant or a pub might have a very dedicated audience of customers, but it might not be able to write a big check. Some companies just want an opportunity for their employees to engage in a community activity. You run the risk of shortchanging yourself with a larger prospect or running off a smaller prospect by putting a dollar sign next to each of these sort of bundled activities. One approach might be to create some sample sponsorship packages that you're willing to share with potential partners that might give them a taste of what types of opportunities exist without actually assigning a monetary value to it right off the bat. Note that you should know what the value of these things are and be prepared for that conversation. It just doesn't need to be presented on your website. Leave the door open for a conversation that will allow you to work together to develop a unique relationship that will benefit you both. This menu of options that you've created might be a good guide for this. So now you've determined what you have to offer, and maybe you've created some examples of how you can work with a company. Now you need to find the right company to work with. You know what you want to engage, you know that you do want to engage companies in your community, but how do you decide who to approach and how do you do it? My first suggestion is to create a prospect list. I found that companies want to invest in where they are, even big companies. If they're headquartered near you, they're likely to be interested in what you have to say. Start by mining your contacts and the contacts of those at your organization and on your board. Find out if anyone knows anyone at any level in companies in your community or beyond. Ask them to make an introduction. If that person is not the right person to talk to within the company, ask that person to introduce you to the correct person to talk to about sponsorship. They're usually happy to connect you. People like to be resources. What I'm getting at is that a warm lead is almost always better than a cold call, even if it's somebody that you don't think is going to be a decision maker. Just knowing that somebody in the company is interested in your organization is often motivating to decision makers. And obviously, if the contact is a decision maker, even better. So who are the right people to talk to? Whether you're following up on a warm lead or making a cold call, it's good to know where in the company you want to end up. Money usually comes from one of three budgets in a corporation. The marketing department, cause marketing is all about engaging the customer. Human resources, many times the companies are interested in engaging their employees through volunteerism, or in some cases the company may have a foundation that it does giving through. Depending on the point in their fiscal year, one of these might be a better avenue than the other, or you might find that you get money from more than one bucket. Do your research. What are the company's stated philanthropic priorities? If they're only interested in feeding the hungry, they might not be a great fit. Has the company participated in cause marketing campaigns in the past? What types of organizations did they engage with? How much money did they donate or raise through the campaign? What do their social media networks look like? And who are the demographics of their customers? Are they similar to those of your donors? Do they have an established volunteer engagement program? What kinds of grants do their foundations usually give out? Once you've identified a few prospects, it's time to reach out. A few things that I like to keep in mind, and they might seem obvious, but I find myself reminding myself of these things pretty often. Understand that it's likely a part of this person's job to take meetings with organizations like yours. They want to, and they usually enjoy that part of their job, but it's only a part of their job. The point is, don't write a long or drawn-out email. Briefly introduce yourself, or better yet, be introduced by someone else, and your organization and why you're writing. Ask them for a meeting or a phone call at their convenience, not yours. And don't be afraid to follow up. Know that they might not be able to respond right away or have a meeting tomorrow. You've been thinking a lot about them through your research, but this might be the first they've heard of you, so give them some space. At the meeting, ask questions. Learn about what they want and what they're looking for a partner. Find out what their goals are in partnership. Listen to them. You're not likely to change their goals, but if you listen to them, you can often creatively achieve their goals while achieving your own. It just might not be in the way that you expected. If they're not getting what they need from the relationship, it's not going to go very far. Know what you want. Have a good idea of your ideal situation. You might find that they'll be excited about that too. Or as you're learning about their goals, you might find that certain aspects of what you want might be a better fit than others, but don't go in without knowing what you want. Remember, you're talking to a very busy person who probably took your call because they're interested. But they might only have a few minutes, and they need you to get right to the point. I actually had one person pick up the phone, completely dismiss all pleasantries, and just ask me point blank, what would you want if I could give it to you? Trust me, you don't want to stutter through that. I did get what I asked for, but I think had I been better prepared, I could have gotten a whole lot more. Identify mutual goals and how you can meet them together. If you're lucky enough to be able to brainstorm together how you can meet your mutual goals during that initial conversation, you're in a great place. But often you'll have to do some work after the call to pull through what you've learned and present some ideas to them during a follow-up email or meeting. That's okay too. Remember, you're relationship building. Do your best not to leave any meeting or call with a potential partner without first identifying next steps. We'll talk more about that in a minute, but don't forget to follow up with them quickly with more information, next steps, and gratitude for their time. To summarize, you're working on building relationships. Ideally, you're building a program together that will help you both achieve mutual goals. Don't enter a meeting without knowing what you want in an ideal situation. Be concise and articulate about what you want and what you have to offer. And shoot for the moon. At the end of the day, if you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it. Don't dance around the question. That's one of the best pieces of advice I ever got. Just ask for what you want. Whether a company has asked for it or not, I recommend reporting back during and after a sponsorship period. Show them clearly, using visuals when possible, what you have achieved together. Identify what your goals were and how you met or surpassed them. If you didn't meet them, identify why and any necessary actionable next steps. Whenever possible, quantify everything. Do this from the onset. Businesses know and understand numbers. They want to know how much land was conserved, how much fish habitat was restored, how many community members were engaged, or whatever your goals were. They want to know exactly how they were met. They're likely reporting to somebody else or to a board, and ultimately, the business is a business, and they need to justify where and how they're spending their money. Help them do that so they want to spend it with you again. Identify key learnings that can be applied in the future. What worked, what didn't, what will be done next time that will come from these learnings, and thank them. Try not to dive right into the next act. Just tell them and celebrate the successes that you've achieved together. Then discuss the future. Then thank them again. I know I just beat a dead horse. I just can't stress how much thanks and recognition go. This can be a handwritten note, a shout out on Facebook, a formal listing in your annual report, or all of the above. A couple of things to keep in mind. Relationships take time to cultivate. Don't get discouraged, but also don't expect something to happen overnight. All businesses have budgets. A company might be very interested in what you are offering, but their budget might already be spent. Again, don't get discouraged. Find a way to work together in the meantime and continue to foster that relationship. Be at the top of their list when they have more funding to allocate. Your partnership should be beneficial to both parties. Don't oversell yourself. I can't stress this enough. Be comfortable with what you are offering. Don't promise what you can't deliver on. It's pretty easy to do in the heat of the conversation, but it won't pay off in the long run. Know when to walk away. Some things are just not meant to be. Know when to cut your losses so you can focus your time and energy elsewhere. And don't forget to follow up and thank them. So I want to quickly share an example of a sponsor in American Rivers and the importance of relationship building. We had one company sponsor our National River Cleanup Program for a number of years. Throughout the years, the sponsorship took on a variety of shapes. As their goals changed, we changed how we worked together, but the actual amount and what we received stayed the same. In recent years, as they grew, their goals changed and evolved, but because we were there with them and had a solid foundation, our partnership grew with them. Now they sponsor not only National River Cleanup, but a variety of restoration projects and a robust communication suite that will benefit American Rivers and the communities that it serves for years to come. So with that, I'd really love to hear what's worked well for others and what hasn't. As I mentioned in the beginning, in the past I've gained the most from discussions with other organizations on what's been successful and what's not worked. So please join us on the community forum where we'll answer any questions and engage in an active discussion over the next few weeks. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much, Anne, for, again, taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us on our monthly webinar series. So just a quick, one last final plug. If you have additional questions, especially if you're viewing this as a recording, I would suggest plugging into the online community forum. You can ask questions, share feedback, things that work, things that didn't work for you, and really to engage with your peers. As Anne mentioned, that's going to be the best way to kind of learn what others have found successful. One last thing, if there are additional trainings or ideas for things that you think would be great to have as a part of our monthly webinar series, please feel free to reach out to us. You can either engage through the online community forum or reach out to me directly via email. But again, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you have a great rest of your day, and hopefully we'll connect soon. Thanks so much.